In 1943, the North African desert was littered with wrecked machines. Sandstorms howled over silent hulks of tanks, British, German, and American alike. Among them lay a Sherman tank, its turret jammed, engine silent, and crew gone. Most soldiers saw it as scrap, a casualty of war. But one man saw something else, a challenge. Sergeant William Bill Tanner, a field mechanic with a stubborn streak, refused to let the tank die. His comrades called him mad for even trying to fix it under enemy fire. He only smiled and said, "Machines have hearts too." That day began one of the most unbelievable mechanical feats of W2. A broken tank was about to earn a second life. Bill Tanner was no ordinary grease-stained technician. Before the war, he repaired tractors on his father's farm in Kansas. He could fix an engine with a pocket knife and a prayer. In the Army, his skills became legendary. He once rebuilt a Jeep engine from spare canteen parts. Soldiers joked that Tanner could make a tank run on sand if he had to. But war had tested even him. Resources were scarce, and time was deadly. His commanding officer called him resourceful, others reckless. When Tanner found that broken Sherman, he saw more than a wreck. He saw a chance to prove that no machine was ever truly lost, and so began his obsession with resurrection. The tank's serial number was half buried under dust, but Tanner renamed it Hope. Its engine had cracked pistons, a damaged transmission, and a leaking fuel line. Every part screamed impossible. Tanner scavenged parts from abandoned tanks, trading cigarettes for bolts and bearings. He slept inside the tank at night, shielding himself from desert wind. The men laughed at him, calling him the mad mechanic. But each day, the sound of clanging tools echoed louder. Slowly, hope began to stir, piece by piece. It wasn't just about mechanics anymore. It was survival through defiance. A broken machine was becoming a symbol. With no garage, no proper tools, and no manuals, Tanner built his own workshop in the sand. He used broken helmets as oil pans and melted shell casings as makeshift solder. For fuel, he mixed aviation gas with motor oil. For coolant, he used water from his own ration supply. The desert sun was brutal, cooking metal until it burned to touch. Each repair took hours of sweat and patience. Enemy patrols passed nearby. He worked silently under camouflage nets. His comrades began leaving spare parts secretly by his tent. They no longer mocked him. They began to believe. The madman was building something incredible. After weeks of work, Tanner turned the ignition. The tank coughed, sputtered, and then roared to life. The sound echoed across the dunes like a heartbeat returning. Soldiers came running, jaws dropping in disbelief. Tanner grinned, covered in grease and dust. Hope, the resurrected Sherman, was alive. Its paint was scorched, its armor dented, but it moved. For the first time, Tanner took it on a test drive across the sand. The tank that everyone abandoned was rolling again. It was no longer a relic. It was reborn. As it rumbled forward, the sun glinted off its battered hull. The men cheered, their morale rising with every turn of its tracks. For Tanner, it wasn't just a machine. It was proof that perseverance could bring steel back to life. Soon after, the Allied column faced a desperate shortage of armor. Command needed every operational tank for an offensive near El Guitar. Tanner volunteered Hope to join the fight. Officers hesitated. This was an unapproved field-repaired machine. Tanner simply said, "She'll do her part." He rode inside, now acting as both driver and mechanic. Under heavy fire, Hope advanced beside standard Shermans. When a tread snapped mid-battle, Tanner jumped out and fixed it on the spot. The men followed his courage, inspired by his faith in a machine. Hope became a legend that day. During battle, Hope took multiple hits. Her armor dented, engine screamed, but she kept moving. Tanner patched bullet holes with scrap metal and drove on. When fuel ran low, he siphoned from wrecked German panzer tanks. Enemy soldiers couldn't believe the battered Sherman still advanced. Tanner used smoke from its exhaust as a diversion tactic. Each repair in combat became a miracle of instinct. Even generals heard rumors of the mad mechanic's ghost tank. By dusk, Hope had destroyed 3 enemy vehicles. It had truly earned its name. As night fell, Tanner rested his head against the turret, hearing it tick like a heartbeat. In that moment, man and machine shared one spirit, unyielding, defiant, and alive. In one fierce engagement, a shell shattered Hope's right tread. Most crews would abandon the tank, but not Tanner. He crawled out, hammering metal under sniper fire. Bullets whizzed past as he used a crowbar to realign the links. Nearby soldiers shouted for him to take cover. He refused, yelling back, "I can't leave her behind." Minutes later, the tread was fixed, and Hope rolled again. It wasn't madness. It was loyalty beyond logic. That repair under fire became one of the most retold stories in the unit. Tanner's courage turned his nickname into respect. From that day, men saluted when Hope rolled past the front lines. To them, Tanner wasn't just a mechanic. He was the soul that kept steel alive. News of Tanner's feat spread across the Allied lines. Reporters began calling him the mad mechanic of El Guitar. Photographers wanted pictures, but Tanner avoided attention. He said, "It's the tank that did the fighting, not me." His unit, once skeptical, now followed him with pride. Hope became a rallying symbol painted on other tanks. Mechanics across the front adopted Tanner's improvisations. He taught them how to repair tanks using ration tins and spare parts. Even officers noted his methods in field manuals. The madness had become official innovation. Tanner's name became synonymous with grit and ingenuity in the field. What began as one man's obsession had reshaped the way an army fought. Despite his achievements, Tanner never received formal awards. He declined recommendations, saying he was just doing his job. When asked how he managed it, he replied, "Machines talk if you listen." For him, Hope was more than metal. It was a friend. He treated it like a living comrade, patching and cleaning it after every battle. Other soldiers found comfort in that, humanity amid destruction. His story spread not through ceremony, but through whispers. By war's end, hundreds of mechanics called themselves his students. He left behind no medals, only inspiration. A true soldier's legacy is measured in lives saved, not ribbons earned. Even after the war, veterans spoke his name with quiet reverence. Tanner and Hope became a legend, proof that devotion could outlast war itself. In 1945, during the Italian campaign, Hope fought her final mission. Heavy artillery fire surrounded Tanner's unit. When retreat orders came, he stayed to cover the withdrawal. The tank's gun jammed, and the engine caught fire. Tanner refused to abandon it, pumping coolant manually. Eventually, flames consumed the machine he had rebuilt. He was rescued unconscious beside its wreckage. Hope was gone, but her spirit lived on in the men who saw her fight. To them, she wasn't a tank. She was proof that courage could be rebuilt. Her ashes marked the end of a legend. Tanner never spoke of that day again, but his eyes carried the memory. In every rumble of an engine, he still heard Hope breathing somewhere out there. After the war, Tanner returned to his family farm in Kansas. He avoided the spotlight, choosing tractors over tanks once more. Neighbors said he talked to his machines as if they were alive. Sometimes he'd pat the hood of a tractor and whisper, "You're my hope now." He never spoke much about the war. But veterans who served with him visited, bringing parts of Hope as keepsakes. A gear here, a bolt there, each one a relic of determination. Tanner displayed them quietly in his barn. The mad mechanic had found peace in simplicity. His war was finally over. When the wind blew across the fields, the old barn seemed to hum like an engine. To those who listened closely, it was as if Hope still watched over him. Decades later, historians uncovered Tanner's diaries. They were filled with sketches of engines, repair notes, and quiet reflections. He wrote, "Machines break, but men break faster." The trick is to rebuild both. Military museums began searching for records of Hope. Only fragments remained, a scorched engine plate and turret scrap. But veterans remembered vividly the tank that refused to die. Documentaries and books began calling Tanner a forgotten genius. His improvisations influenced modern field repair units. What once seemed madness became a model of ingenuity. The Mad mechanic's name was finally honored. In one museum display, a small plaque reads, "He rebuilt more than metal. He rebuilt morale." Visitors still pause before it, feeling the echo of hope in every rivet and rusted part. Today, hope stands as a metaphor more than a machine. She represents every soldier who refused to give up. Tanner's story reminds us that innovation is born from desperation. His ability to find life in lifeless metal mirrors human resilience. Modern military engineers still study his makeshift methods. He taught that progress doesn't always need perfection, just persistence. In museums and documentaries, hope lives on through words and images. Her legend continues to inspire mechanics, soldiers, and dreamers. Because sometimes, hope isn't found, it's built. Piece by piece, like a tank reborn in the sand. Every spark Tanner struck still lights the spirit of invention today. Hope endures not as steel, but as the unbreakable will to rebuild. The world remembers heroes with medals, but Tanner's was with grease-stained hands. His story blurs the line between madness and genius. What he built in the desert wasn't just a tank, it was faith in motion. He proved that even broken things can fight again. In every mechanic's wrench and every soldier's will, hope still hums. The spirit of one man's determination outlived the war itself. History may call him mad, but his legacy calls him brilliant. Because in war, not all miracles wear uniforms. Some wear oil-stained coveralls and carry a wrench. And their greatest weapon is belief.